Hey guys, welcome to the Willard Asylum for the chronic insane. To say that it was an honor to be here is an understatement, and I know that sounds weird because it's considered such an awful place. However, spiritually, it's definitely on the bucket list. Things like this you can't look at as such an awful, terrible beacon of the past. While you're there in the moment, you just have to honor who's there, who's still there. And there was definitely people still there. Spirits, I should say. So this place was created by Mr. Willard back in 1869. And it was essentially created to cover a gap in the system. And the system being most people who didn't have a place to go, not like homeless, and not full-blown violent like a prison. Didn't have anywhere to go. Families didn't want them. They were considered a stain on the family name. And even little things that back then were not understood, like ADD or teenage syndrome, stealing, rowdy behavior, promiscuous behavior, gay and lesbian, transgender, all of that stuff was not considered able to be in society, and it's terrible. However, this is how they rectified that situation, shall I say. So this sprawling, beautiful place was created by Mr. Willard. This is just one section of it. As you can see, it is fenced off. Other portions of the campus are currently being used, such as a drug rehab facility and actually a state penitentiary. So, due to the fact that it is fenced and we do follow the rules, believe it or not, side note, if I was to tell you that it was easy to resist going under, over, or through this very flimsy fence, I would be lying. It was very, very hard to resist. However, they do keep watch with regular armed guards driving around, and they definitely took note of us, kept an eye on us, but left us alone. So there was a mutual understanding there that we weren't going to do any funny business, and they weren't going to hustle us off the property. So again, the sheer magnitude of just this building alone is incredible. As you can see, the middle part is falling in. The brick, the wood, everything is rotting. Which is hard to see from an architectural standpoint because this place is beautiful, taking away the history of what happened here. Just from an outsider standpoint, it's stunning. It's humongous. Every single window is barred from the outside. Doors were caged where they could come outside, get some fresh air, sunshine, go all the way down almost to the ground, but there was no door at the bottom to access that. Think of sort of like a fire escape with fencing, but with no way out. Now, this place opened, like I said, in 1869, and its first patient was Mary Rote. She came here from a different facility, which was basically just had her chained to her bed for about 10 years. So you can tell when she got here, she was in really bad shape. She wasn't able to care for herself. She was almost feral at this point, deformed, deranged, as any human being would be, being chained to a bed for 10 years. However, after being here at the Willard Asylum, her psyche did improve, as did many, many others. They had a bowling alley, they had a movie theater, they did arts and crafts. They were able to farm and plant seeds and vegetables and harvest them and cook. Sewing classes and leather working and all sorts of things. But it was very much like a prison for some of these people. Some of the more violent ones were kept in a different part of the building. It was separated by men and women, and then further separated by violent and non-violent. Now, families back then, they did not want a stain on their family name. So, women with postpartum depression, Men who got into trouble as teenagers or even, as adults. They were all sent here. So if you're handed an apple and you're told repeatedly that the apple is an orange, eventually you're going to start to question yourself. You see what I mean? So while this did provide structure and a safe place for a lot of people to go, it also provided a downfall for so many others. I believe 50,000 people were admitted through the doors from 1869 to 1995, and half of those people did die on this property. 25,000 people died here. This place did have their own crematory and morgue. They were fully capable of handling this sort of thing, and unfortunately, once they were there, their families necessarily didn't forget about them, but back then that's just something you don't talk about. That sign that you see there does say, "Do not enter, the building is unsafe and unstable." So if firemen were to have to respond, God forbid for any reason, they would know that the floor is not safe, don't walk on it because it's not there. Side note, pretty flower. So when something like this happens, and this is actually a baby animal that I spotted, I don't know what it is, I don't know New York wildlife, I think it was a woodchuck. I'm just reliving this whole thing with you guys while I'm watching it, narrating, and the feeling here was very, very heavy. However, it was also very curious, comical, almost joyous. I don't know if it was just because we were walking around the building and turning our intentions toward it, or if it's just a feeling that is always there, Some people can see the sunshine through any bad storm, and you don't have to have a disability to do that. Goodness. That being said, of course, this place is definitely haunted by every sense of the word. There is a residual here, a stone tape theory, all of the extreme happiness, sadness, anger, frustration, depression, manic episodes, all of that is recorded into the elements here, the brick, the stone, the earth, the water, the surroundings, and it sort of gets replayed over and over again when the conditions are right. So between that and there are some reportedly active hauntings here as well. I mean, how could you not? 25,000 people die in an insane asylum. Of course there's going to be something left behind. Reports from what I'm reading are ranging from a sense of being watched, of course. There are reports of extreme laughter being echoing through the hallways, also screaming. Side note, they did deploy electroshock therapy here, as well as ice baths and other means of taming the spirit, if you will. One female investigator reported as she walked down the hallway, there were different rooms that she would pass by where the iron bars on the outside of the windows would actually start to violently shake. So if she was walking straight down the hallway, the room to her right's window would violently shake, and then the adjacent room just in front of her window would violently shake as she passed by, and then again on the right. There are reports of poltergeist activity here, things being thrown, crumbling roof and things like that. However, I haven't seen anything solid or concrete. As you can see, the building is in disrepair. It hasn't always been this bad, of course, but I haven't seen anything solid on the poltergeist thing. I think it's mainly just a cry for help, if you will. Oh man, so the asylum actually closed its doors in 1995. The last patient was discharged. And upon that time, staff actually went into the attic and found, I believe, around 400 patient suitcases, all meticulously documented. And these suitcases were literally a snapshot of these people's lives before they got here. And I mean, just, pictures and mementos and trinkets and vitamins and you name it. I mean, literally a suitcase, a bag that you pack going here thinking you're going to get out and you don't. I mean, right there, you can see my face. The energy right here at this front door is intense. But if you haven't looked up the Suitcase Project, please do so. It does show you pictures of the suitcases and what they entailed and some of the stories. It's definitely eye-opening and it's heart-wrenching. But they did the best they could. They took the suitcases, they documented them, they put them someplace safe. I mean, what else are you supposed to do when people are literally coming to your doorstep and dumping human beings off at your feet because they don't want to deal with them? Now, I'm not saying everything that went on here was right, but I will say that they were constantly understaffed, underpaid, trying to do the right thing. Does that mean that everybody there was good? No, of course not. I believe that working in a place like this gives you an excuse to treat people, subpar. But the rest of them, what do? You do your best. And I believe that a lot of that happened here. Unfortunately, that doesn't make as good of a story as, some of these awful things. Like, I believe shortly after Mary, the first patient, arrived after being chained to her bed for 10 years, a young girl arrived in a chicken crate. So there was definitely a lack of understanding of mental disability and human behavior back then. A lot of quote-unquote demonic possession, which could have easily been corrected with just a little bit of structure and understanding and empathy. I hope you guys enjoyed this adventure. I hope you guys can feel a little bit of what it was like to be there. We will be going back here. We will be moving up that way shortly, and hopefully I will be able to gain access legally to some of these other parts of the buildings that may be a little bit safer. I'm hoping I can befriend somebody. It can happen, right? But in the meantime, if you did enjoy this video, please hit that like button, as it does let YouTube know that you enjoy it, and they are more likely to put this out in front of somebody else who may also enjoy it. And it's because of you that we are able to do things like this, and we are absolutely on fire and in love with it. So thank you again for that and for being here with me today. My voice does sound, I realize now, a little bit more melancholy than usual, but I'm literally watching this footage with you and just reliving it. It was exhilarating, it was exciting, but it was also very draining and somber. Actually, this is one of my favorite parts, is there's a door right there that literally goes to nowhere. Just a door nowhere. We'll put a door here. It's a 50-50 chance. Who knows? Alright guys, I hope you're happy. I hope you're well. And until next time, we will see you on the next adventure.